Okay, there we go. All right, everyone. Welcome to Masculine Geek number 113. This is the No D&D Game Tonight show. We are missing our Dungeon Master, Mr. Raul Tomasi, so we will reschedule for sometime around second or third week of April. So there you go. You get us three tonight. We're going to keep it a short broadcast. We may have some guests pop in. We'll see what happens. So, in the meantime, TJ has some Geek Intel.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
So this is, forgive the lighting. But
How dare you?
I know. So this is the book that the film Die Hard was based off of. And it was originally published in 1979. And I haven't read much of it yet, but from the glance I've given at some of the pages, there's a lot of the same dialogue and same dynamics going on. So I'm kind of excited to read it because I know that there was some extensive changes made from the book to the film. A lot of the twists that you see in the film did not occur in the book. It was a little bit more of a straightforward type story. But what's interesting is there was a prequel to it called The Detective that came out in, I'm not sure, but it was starring Frank Sinatra, and they were actually hoping to have Frank Sinatra star in Nothing Lasts Forever when they were going to make it into a film, and he was just too old. But that would have been really interesting to see him be John. And his name is not John McClane in the book. His name is Leland. So I think that's, frankly, I think John McClane has got that good, that's the perfect name for a New York cop from the 90s.
It is. It's a good name for that. Sinatra played a detective in the 50s or probably late 50s. There's a movie called Tony Rome, and he plays a sort of a washed out alcoholic type ne'er-do-well detective, and he's Tony Rome, and that's the title of the movie. But check it out; it's pretty good. Yeah. So that's all I got.
I got another Geek and Tell.
Oh shit, a twofer. Oh, nice. How is that?
I have not tried it. I just bought it today. It is. It was born with the Republic.
Ah, nice. That's funny. You're bringing that up. I just rewatched John Adams over the weekend.
Oh, there was this
so
great.
Good.
Yeah,
so
there was
good.
This great scene where they were talking about what to do after the Battle of Lexington and Concord. They're having the Continental Congress, and the Quaker from Pennsylvania is talking about how we need to send a petition to Parliament and have them negotiate. And John Adams is arguing, saying, guns, powder, and artillery is the best answer to Gates that we could do. Yep. And then they're arguing back and forth. And he finally, the Quaker guy is saying, no, we need to negotiate. We need to, they'll be eager to
Dickerson. Yeah.
Yeah. And John Adams just looks at him and goes, I'm in no judgment of any man's religion, but and everybody's like, okay, it's coming.
Yeah.
But your Quaker sensibilities do us a disservice, sir. And everybody's okay, it's on.
Yeah, and he did it in that awesome Paul Giamatti way, the way he the cadence and tone of his voice when his delivery.
So good. Yeah.
And Bacon, real quick, Bacon, thanks for the 223 super chat. Any cheese and ale on the menu? Asking for a friend. I do not have cheese. Actually, I do. I just bought cheese today when I had to do my weekly food shopping.
You were saying never seen that done before. What was he referring to?
I'm still talking, TJ. What the fuck?
Oh, sorry.
Jesus Christ. This is not ale. This is alcoholic root beer. Go ahead, TJ. You can continue your interruption.
I was wondering what Bacon meant by never seen that done before. Where'd you get it? Oh, this bourbon? I got it from a local. Yeah. I got it from a local liquor store. It's new. It's from Kentucky, naturally.
Yeah.
But no, I love that scene because he keeps going and he says, it's one thing to turn the other cheek, but to lie down in the grass like a snake is quite enough.
It's the one-liners are just one after another. They're so good. Nope. Yeah, very very good. How about you, Drew? You have anything to show off geek-wise?
Oh, jeez.
Right next to you is your. Okay. Like I say, right next to you is your.
I got a bunch of shit. So.
Yeah.
What were you wondering, though?
Oh, the shelf right next to you. That's your gaming shelf, right?
The one that's here is all books. The one that's there is now almost all books. We moved all of the board games, except we just have the D&D stuff and a couple things in here, but almost all the board games are now on a bunch of shelves similar to these in the living room.
Oh, okay.
So, gaming wise, we haven't done shit for a long time. I'd like to get some more D&D games going, but trying to get everybody together is a thing. I was going to bring this up real quick. I don't know how much interest people have in this. Is a book, Burn, by an evolutionary anthropologist, a guy named Herman Pontzer. Just finished. Well, I haven't finished. I got to the last chapter, and I've sort of kind of, it's a great book up until the very end. And he talks about, research that they've done on hunter-gatherer populations and evidence for what our ancestors' diets looked like, and a bunch of stuff on metabolism. I'll skip ahead. There's a ton of shit here. But one of the most interesting things to come out of this is all this information on how our bodies constrain our daily energy expenditure to keep it within a certain range. If your activity increases significantly, a lot of people have this belief that if you do enough physical activity, you're going to burn more calories and you're going to lose all this fat. And we have known for a very long time that cardio, steady state and sprint interval activity and all this stuff is a waste of time for fat loss. It has very little effect. And in the long run, I mean, there's some other health and fitness benefits to moving, but most of them can be obtained through proper strength training. You don't need to do all that. But they actually went and did research. They looked at these hunter-gatherer populations, tracked the food that they were eating, tracked their activity levels, found that despite the fact that they are about 7 times as active as most people in Western civilization, the United States, Europe, and whatnot, when you adjust for sex and body weight, despite all that activity, there is no significant difference in daily energy expenditure. And that our bodies do a very good job of decreasing the energy spent on other metabolic processes when the activity goes up to maintain or to constrain that daily energy expenditure to preserve our fat stores, which is, a great thing from a long-term evolutionary survival standpoint. It probably allowed us to get through periods, famine, and that we otherwise might not have been able to. But I'm thrilled about it because we've been telling people this stuff for a long time. And of course, there's still a lot of people going to push all the cardio bullshit. But it shows that it is a waste of time for fat loss. They even talk about another study where they looked at people who were previously sedentary and they had them train for a half marathon. And they would test, look at the daily energy expenditure every so many weeks over a long period of time. Even after 40-something weeks, by the time they got to the point where they were doing about 25 miles a week of running on average, no significant difference in body composition or daily energy expenditure. The cardio thing is a big fucking waste of time for fat loss. Now, there's other reasons to be physically active. I don't want to turn this into like a half-hour thing all about this, so I'll get to the point. Anyways, information in here is great, but there's a bunch of hippie bullshit too. And towards the end, he starts going off on some weird rant about our energy expenditure outside of our bodies and climate change and all this other bullshit. So overall, an interesting read for anybody interested in metabolism, fat loss. I could talk on and on. There's a lot of great stuff in the book, but ignore some of the lefty bullshit. But otherwise, it's a pretty good read.
Cool.
So, and then onto the Hungry Brain.
I've seen that cover before, but I haven't read it.
It's interesting. He's a neuroscientist, so he's looking at how our brain regulates appetite and behaviors, and why a lot of people overeat and what to do about it. And then as soon as I'm done with that, and I'm not recommending this book, and this the physics of resistance exercise, a bunch of people who don't know any better were all excited and impressed with this and kept saying, well, you got to read this, you got to read this, you got to read this. Picked it up, I started going through it. It's actually very, very basic stuff. And then there's a whole lot of things that he gets wrong about length tension relationship, exercise selection, static versus dynamic exercise, all sorts of stuff. So I'm not recommending it, but it's I'm going to be going through and critiquing a bunch of that. So that's what's on my plate for the.
Cool. I have a question about the book prior to the last one. What's the prevailing wisdom on people? The reason why people overeat? What's the new theory?
The super short version is that our brains reward us for doing things, for taking actions that are beneficial for our survival.
That makes sense.
And for most of human history, eating a lot of whatever you could get that provided a good amount of energy was a very good idea, because calories were scarce and they took a lot of effort to obtain. But now a lot of companies take advantage of this by developing foods specifically that are very effective at triggering those reward centers by removing the things that make us feel full, the things that protein and fiber are going to tend to make you feel full. Protein because of hormonal effects, fiber because your stomach has stretch receptors, absorbs liquid, expands. It is very difficult for people to overeat when they're getting a lot of protein and fiber, a lot of lean meat, fibrous vegetables. But with a lot of the processed foods, it's a lot of sugar, refined sugar and grain, like whole grain. I know a lot of people, whole grains, it's easier to eat them than some other things. But if you've got really refined sugar and fat and salt, these things tend to trigger people to eat more and more of them. They are pleasurable without being satiating. Very, very palatable foods that do not make you could eat to the point where you are way over how many calories you need and still not feel full. And he hasn't gotten to it yet. I hope he does. But something related to that not a lot of people consider is that appetite is not just about energy. Appetite is your brain's way of telling you that you need to eat because you don't have something you need. So if you had a diet that was pure sugar and oils and very, very low on micronutrients, even if you were to consume those to the point where you were, thousands of calories over what you require, without the protein to fill you up, without the fiber to fill you up, you might still be hungry because your body has not obtained micronutrients that it requires, and it wants you to keep eating until you get those things. So if you eat relatively unprocessed whole foods, and I'm not saying raw, that's stupid. We have been cooking our food for hundreds of thousands of years and are well adapted to eating it that way. Probably like 300-something thousand, apparently. So I'm not saying raw, but relatively unprocessed foods with a lot of protein, a lot of fiber, relatively high nutrient density in terms of micronutrients, you're going to be less likely to overeat. It's still possible, especially if people are rushing. If you take your time eating, your brain can get the message that there's enough and say, hey, we're not hungry anymore. But if you're eating mostly very refined, ultra palatable, ultra processed foods, you're going to be far more likely to overeat. And the horrible thing is it's intentional. These companies literally have people whose job is to try to develop the most palatable foods possible because they want you to buy to consume as much of them as they can get you to. So it's, why would they make something that's filling? It's going to reduce the amount that you're going to eat. Unless they're specifically marketing it as a diet food. But probably the biggest take home from all this stuff between these couple of books, from the fat loss stuff from the first one, it really comes down to diet more than anything else. And something important to note is that although activity level for most people doesn't make a significant difference for fat loss, it does make a difference because your body reduces the amount of energy spent on it reduces your metabolic rate, reducing the energy spent on other processes to compensate for the increase in activity to constrain your energy expenditure. But there is actually appear to be some health benefits to that, in that it might reduce over activity of some things that can be harmful. Inflammatory response from the immune system being one thing. So the two ways to accomplish it, that you can eat less or you can be at least moderately active. But too much activity is problematic too. Overuse, oxidative stress, all sorts of things. Anyways, big takeaways from this: eat mostly lean animal and plant foods, not all one, not the other. The carnivore people are just as fucking loony as the vegan. It's an emotional knee-jerk reaction to vegan, and all the paleo stuff. And actually, another thing that this guy talks about here is a lot of the paleo stuff that people have been talking about over the past decade or so has been assumptions made by people in nutrition and exercise physiology who did not have the anthropology background and didn't know what they were talking about and misinterpreted it. And a lot of people have this idea that our hunter-gatherer ancestors were mostly gorging themselves on meat and organs and all this stuff and weren't eating plant matter. And that's not at all the case. If you look at anything from about -50 to 50 degrees latitude, the human diets and our pre-human ancestors varied quite a bit, from mostly animals to mostly plants, but not all of one and not all of the other. And it would have varied depending on the location and even the time of year, depending on what was available. So they weren't all eating all of one or all the. So anybody that says that the anthropological record shows that we were carnivores or says that we were vegans is full of shit. They're fucking stupid. We are opportunistic omnivores who can actually function pretty well on a variety of foods, but it's probably better to avoid either extreme. Anyways, I'm going to piss off a bunch of vegans. I don't care. They're retarded. I'll piss off a bunch of carnivores. They're equally retarded. And now I'm going to piss off all the people that don't like the word retarded. I don't care.
Well, they're retarded that don't like the word retarded.
That's right. I have absolutely nothing against people who have mental disabilities. It's not a slight on them. I'm just saying that it is stupid to completely say we shouldn't eat any plants or to completely say we shouldn't eat any animals. Whether you eat mostly plants or mostly animals is less important than avoiding all of the ultra-processed crap that's loaded with sugar, loaded with
seed oils. Yeah.
But very little or no protein, or soy protein is garbage, and very little or no fiber, and little or no micronutrients. Or to make it real simple, if your great-great-grandparents wouldn't recognize it as food, you probably shouldn't eat it.
That's good advice, actually. Because the whole seed oil, preservative, sugar deal has only been over the last, 60, 70 years?
Well, it's the ultra-processed seed oils. If you're eating vegetables and getting oils in the actual plant matter that you're eating. And
it's different. It's not when I say seed oils, I'm talking about processed oils.
Yeah, it's that there seems to be some concern with oxidative stress with those. You don't want to get a massive amount of fat in general. And I know there's a bunch of people who have this idea that you should do ketogenic diets with very low protein and very low carbohydrate because they've got these ignorant notions about insulin and fat storage. It's complete nonsense. That think that you should consume fat ad libitum, just as much fat as you want, you'll be fine. Interesting thing about that, though, again, if you're eating mostly fat, not getting that much protein, you're not getting that much fiber at all on a ketogenic diet if you're not supplementing with it, you're going to be far more likely to overeat. And this is not opinion. They've actually looked at this. There were a pair of researchers that looked at 570,000 days worth of data from MyFitnessPal. It's one of these fitness trackers. People enter, how many calories, what's their calorie target, what's their weight loss target, and then they record what they're eating. And the research looked at how much people were trying to eat versus how much they actually ate. Did they go over or under as a measure of satiety? And they also looked at how much fat they lost. And the groups that did the best in terms of both satiety and fat loss were the ones with higher protein intake. In fact, protein intake was most strongly correlated with both satiety and fat loss. And fiber was right after protein. It's not surprising. So if you want to do better in terms of sticking to your diet and losing fat, more protein, more fiber. Again, more lean animal foods and plants. Some fat's not going to hurt you, but it's easy to get a lot of calories with that. The people who did the worst were the low protein, low carb, or the very low protein, low carb, and keto, well, of course, but the low protein ketogenic diet. So people that were loading up on fat, but that had very little protein or carbohydrate did the worst in terms of fat loss and more frequently tended to go over their target calorie intake. So it's just, there's so much, in fact, bullshit is practically the defining characteristic of the fitness and diet industries. Whereas more, now I shouldn't say that. Here's the thing. I am in it and I'm dealing with it constantly. So I see it. I know that there's so much bullshit. And I think a lot of people just don't know any better, but I'm guessing, I don't know for certain, but I'm guessing that there is a similar amount of bullshit in a lot of other industries that most of us just aren't aware of because it's not our thing. I dated a girl in college who was a hairstylist. And I remember her telling me that shampoo and conditioner all in one is bullshit because they do different things. But people buy this crap because they don't know any better, and that there's so many other hair care products that are like that. It's just, to people who actually know, they see the stuff in the store and they think, this is just absolutely stupid. Why would anybody even think this? But they're in it. How many things are like that in other industries that we're not even aware of because it's just not our industry? Well, the fitness industry in particular is, I can tell you, this is how bad it is. I could go into any gym, and this is, and I say this because it's happened over and over and over and over again. And at least 90, actually, I should put it differently. I was going to give a percent. I would be very unlikely to see a single person exercising with anything even remotely approaching correct form in most gyms. And the personal trainers are often the worst offenders. The vast majority of people make poor decisions in terms of which exercises they perform, how they perform them, rep and set schemes, pretty much everything. And a lot of people waste time on all sorts of stupid, faddish bullshit that the gym never should have provided the equipment for to begin with. So the industry is not just, doesn't have a lot of shit, it is mostly bullshit. If you were to go to a typical gym right now and hire a personal trainer, other than the most basic principles, overload, progression, and you have to adjust the volume and frequency based on individual recovery, assuming they even know that and they're not just giving you some arbitrary number of exercises, sets and reps and frequency. beyond the most basic stuff, they get almost everything else completely wrong. Not just wrong, but backwards. If you knew nothing at all about exercise and you went into a gym with just no idea what to do and guessed you might do about as well or possibly better if you hired most of the personal trainers. Or if you watched the personal trainers and what they were doing with their clients and did the opposite, you would probably be closer to doing it correctly in most places. It is absolutely atrocious. The worst, the thing I used to dread, because I've managed training studios and I've helped with interviews, and actually for a while I was the director of education for a national personal training franchise. I dread interviewing trainers for training positions because they are, when it comes to Dunning-Kruger, the fitness industry is, it's most of it.
The worst
And
offenders.
So confident in their expertise, and most of them knew less than nothing of value. Most of what they thought they knew wasn't just wrong, but completely fucking backwards. It's awful. Anyways, I'm probably boring people here with this, but
it's good info.
It's a shit industry. It's a mostly bullshit.
Speaking of bull rush, how are you?
Oh, good.
Good. You have some geek intel you showed me in the DMs there. You've got the new acquisitions.
Yeah, I'm wrapping up an eBay auction right now.
Cool.
So I gotta pay them. I gotta pay those fuckers.
I got a question for
always helpful.
you guys about eBay stuff, if you could help me with this. eBay stuff and online commerce in general. This might be interesting to people. So my wife likes these Nike shoes, and she's always, hey, can you get me these shoes? Can you get me that shoes? Whenever the shoes come up, they're gone like that. Hundreds and hundreds of pairs gone. And it seems that scalpers are buying them. That's what I heard. A friend of my nephew's said that you have to get some sort of bot or software that automatically orders and does this. How are these companies not stopping this from happening?
They don't care because they get the money either way.
Yeah, they get paid.
It's the same thing with whenever the PlayStation, when a PlayStation console, the video game consoles come out, they don't care. Like,
I suppose they don't care as long as they're selling it. So in that case, I'm assuming that they're legal. How would you get a bot to do this? For example, if I want to buy my son a PS5, or if I want to buy my wife a pair of Nikes that are probably going to sell out in seconds,
you have to find some computer nerd and either beat him up or pay him some money.
You steal his lunch money.
Right.
Oh, seriously, like it's about the only thing you can do. They have like whole companies that do this stuff though. Yeah.
Wow.
Or what you can also do is that there are companies that you can pay a subscription service to that uses bots to buy up a bunch of new items. And as long as you're like a monthly subscriber to that company, you'll get first shot at the stuff that they kind of pirated.
Wow.
I mean, it's not illegal though.
No, it shouldn't be illegal. I'm just thinking it's
not fair, but I mean, shit.
It's frustrating.
Life isn't fair, you know.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how to go about actually being able to purchase something under these circumstances if it's something that's coming out briefly. Apparently some of these shoes, they're not ridiculously priced, a few $100s, but the resale ends up being like $600, $700, $800 something dollars.
Right. That's like with PlayStation. The last PlayStation console came out, they I think it was like $500 or $600, and it was going on eBay. It was going over for like twice that much, like $1,500, $2,000.
I heard Amazon drivers were stealing them and putting other shit in the boxes.
Yeah, they're stealing them too.
Christ.
It's really been interesting to watch, kind of tangenting a little bit, so bear with me. I will genuinely be brief. It's been interesting to watch a lot of products that were in the mid 2000s, 2010, like Nintendo 64 games, Nintendo 64 consoles, VCRs, all that other kind of stuff, was basically like junking that stuff. It's not worth anything. Well, now you go try and buy any of that stuff now, and they're really expensive. Like they've basically gone back. A lot of these things have gone back to their original price that you would have paid back in the 90s. I remember when I was paying $60 for a Nintendo 64 game. Some of those games are now worth that, if not more. And I just saw there's this, like, the only current VCR company in existence. They put out a VCR that what you do is you can put your VHS tape into it. You put a blank DVD into the other side, and you can watch whatever is on your VHS at the same time as recording it onto the DVD. And it's like, I think $2.99 or something like that, over $200. But they were just talking about how expensive it was to find a VCR that actually worked, because a lot of these conversion ones don't actually, they break down after a while. So it's been interesting to see how prices change for items, and you just have no idea a lot of times whether it's going to retain its value, whether it's going to go up, because a lot of cars from the 50s and 60s are worthless. Nobody wants to buy them. But
I've got a friend that collects older gaming consoles and games, and he knows a lot about computers, knows a lot about electronics, where he can actually go in, pull out circuit board, and repair stuff. So he's actually bought tons. He's got one of the old Famicons.
Yeah.
Got fully functional. He's got a room in their house where it's all these consoles and wall-to-wall games, and just he still collects. So I hear some of the stuff about pricing from him now, but he actually got a ton of them by going around to, like, I don't know if they had them down here, but everybody had Blockbuster, but they're like Family Video, Sunset Video, places like that. They used to rent the games when they were going out of business.
Oh,
and
yeah.
a huge box of all these old Nintendo games for next to nothing that now some are almost impossible to find.
Yeah, that's actually what I was thinking. I was looking at I was doing a little bit of research about the 1983 video game crash, which I was not around for, but I've just done some reading on it, and was curious about some of the stuff. Like, there was a time period where video games were actually considered a novelty and weren't really seen as very serious. And there was this push towards the personal computer. That was when the Commodore 64 came out. That was more designed for computer use. They were trying to sell it as like an educational thing. Oh, your kids can work on college. They can do word processor or whatever. So I looked up a Commodore 64 on eBay, and they're selling for hundreds of dollars. I mean, these are things. Wow. I used to have a Commodore 64 when I was a kid that I think it belonged to my dad or something like that, and I wanted to keep it, and they kind of wanted to get rid of it because they saw it as just junk. And hindsight's 20/20, like, to be fair. But man, if I'd hung on to that thing along with the games and all the stuff that, like, it came with the box, it had the instruction manual, it had all the game stuff. I mean, you could put that on eBay and get $350 now.
A few years ago, our sister found our Atari 2600 from when we were kids.
Yeah.
With all the games, the joysticks, all the stuff in a box in our parents' basement. Brought that home, and now her kids have it, although they kind of ignore it, so it's probably going to go to one of my brothers. But it's nuts how much of that stuff now probably cost. They probably never could have imagined that they would sell then for what it's selling now.
Right.
But I think obviously there's a nostalgia factor too. You know, a lot of people who, there's emulators, but I don't think that's really the same as having.
Not really.
The old controller.
Yeah.
Or somebody sets up a arcade console and throws a Raspberry Pi doohickey in there and just play. You could play like 5,000 games on it.
Yeah, I actually have one of those. I have one of those. I'm pretty sure it's a Chinese, like illegal pirated version, but it's this little console that has hundreds of games, but it has all the Chinese ripoffs and all that other kind of stuff. So I'm a little suspicious of plugging it into anything, including my TV.
Seriously,
It might have like a propaganda message.
It's probably watching you.
it's using there's like a little camera inside the TV, and it's
Probably
like,
tracking your
Gang Bang's going to show up at your door and try to hook you up.
That's all right. Shit.
But I think that if our society continues down the current trajectory, not to talk about this too much either, but I think if we continue down the road that we're going on right now, people are going to be increasingly turning to nostalgic stuff like that in order to. They're going to take something that's old, and for an entire generation that's never known, that never knew it, that never experienced it, they're going to want to relive an experience that they never had. So they're like, yeah, and I kind of see that a little bit, and I could be wrong, but I'm wondering with Minecraft, because I see kids who are 10 years old playing this game that's really it's a 2D bad graphics game, intentionally so, but they love it. And because it's fun, and there's a lot of games that I play. I just got Lord of the Realms 2 was from like 96 or 97.
Did you just post something on Twitter about that?
Yeah, it was one of my favorite games growing up, and I used to have to play it on my old laptop that's 15 years old because it can't play on my new computer. But I got it for $3 on Steam. So I'm playing old games that have bad graphics, but they're really fun to play because the games were just good. The only thing holding them back was technology, not innovation. So I'm wondering if old stuff is going to become more and more valuable. So I would say to anybody who's got the old Ataris, got the old Atari games, got anything old, hold on to that stuff because people may want to really. I almost wonder if that's what's going to happen with box TVs, because I went to a Goodwill a couple like last year, was dropping stuff off. I swear there was at least 100 TVs outside that thing, and most of them were box TVs because they will take them as of last time I checked. They'll take box TVs because you can't just trash them or whatever. They're cumbersome. But I wonder at some point, because box TVs function differently for video games than the new TVs. You can't play Duck Hunt on new TVs, for example. So I wonder if I don't know. It's a possibility. It may not happen, but I just wonder if that's going to be a thing for an entire generation, that particularly the ones that grew up after 9/11. I wonder if they're going to look at 80s stuff and like try to,
Yeah, no, it's true. Then Safety Doc is mentioning some things here. And TJ, holidays or traditions, I'm assuming it means, and traditions are now blending. People not taking down Christmas decorations. That's stupid. Just adding decorations to the tree. Now, this is something I do.
How long can the tree last?
I know, right? Well, if it's a fake tree, it's fine. Google Easter tree. What the fuck is an Easter tree?
What?
That's the dumbest fucking.
Easter tree is a thing. I don't know. Weird people do stuff like that, like Mormons and stuff. They have Easter trees or some shit.
They hang their magical underwear on it.
I don't know. It's just a tree. I don't. I've heard of it. I don't know. It's like people that do Easter trees are like anti-vaxxers and flat earthers and shit.
Flat earthers.
Yeah. Bacon was talking about this, and it's true that there was a guy, I read an article, I don't remember where it was, but he was talking about how he repairs TVs, old box TVs, and his business has skyrocketed because of the Super Smash Brothers tournaments that occur with the new consoles. But because they lag more than the box TVs, box TVs are now in high demand for these tournament games. So they're bringing in these box TVs. I was at this bar in a town called Ellensburg that's south of me, and it's basically they have TVs set up all around the bar where you can just play video games. You can play NES, you can play Super Nintendo, you can play Nintendo 64, you can play Xbox, and then they had the Super Smash Brothers tournament on a huge what do you call it?
Was it a flat screen or a projection?
A projection screen, yeah. And so I think that's going to be it's just a possibility where something just comes out where something gains novelty or gains value because of something that's really sought at the moment.
Yeah, over the past decade or so. There's been a resurgence in pinball machines, and a friend of mine who he fixes. He's a pinball and arcade mechanic, electrician.
Yo, that dude, that sounds fascinating.
Yeah, well, in fact, my motorcycle I bought off of him.
Have him on the show. That'd be cool to hear about.
I know, right? I do have another podcast that I used to do that I did interview him. I'll have to link that up. He traded the motorcycle that I bought off of him for a refurbished pinball machine.
Doesn't Cappy have that arcade that he bought?
I think he has. Yeah, I think he's got an arcade game. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, arcades were really fun. I think that's.
There's something. It's like having a book versus an ebook.
Yeah,
it's that kind of tactile, like almost all body experience.
Oh, yeah, like air hockey.
And air hockey. I love air hockey.
I love air hockey.
And there was a social element to going to
exactly
with your friend too. It was a thing. You went to the arcade. You're not just going to your living room to sit down and play games. Although that was fun too. We had a friend of ours, like late grade school, early high school, their parents set up a camper in the backyard, and they just ran an extension cord out there and would have the Nintendo and a TV in there. We just go and hang out there, but because it wouldn't disturb their parents to have everybody in there.
Yeah, that the social element you mentioned, it, both of you guys, that's so true, because I remember in the early and mid 90s when I was going to have the Ocean City trips with my friends, there's an arcade down there that was at the time open 24 hours, 7 days a week, called Jilly's, right on the boardwalk in Ocean City. And it was, you weren't sleeping, you got done your drinking, and you wandered down to Jilly's and played air hockey, like you said, Boris, air hockey, and just arcade games, pool tables, all kinds of stuff.
So this is an example of something I was actually going to do a podcast on my own podcast, but it's like, this is probably the most appropriate place to do this, is that people used to meet people in person and then do video games or other stuff like that, like tabletop games or whatever, together. But that wasn't a way of necessarily meeting people. I mean, it could be, but you would generally, you'd hang out with your friends. Now people do this stuff online as a way of meeting people,
which
I think
just weird.
It's weird, but it's like, I'm wondering if that's, to borrow a phrase from a Star Wars miniseries, I'm wondering if that is the way moving forward for at least for the younger people, because we're kind of in this weird spot where we have relationships or friendships or people that we've known and built up association with prior to the internet, or before it really became the place where you met people, as opposed to kids who've grown up with the smartphone their entire lives. I mean, they don't meet. Why would anyone visit all?
Made me laugh out loud. Thank you, Mictibus.
I'm looking at, because that's kind of the thing I've been thinking about. It's like, that's just what I'm noticing, is that people are going online to meet people and then saying we should hang out in person, as opposed to meeting someone in person and then saying, hey, let's go do something else or whatever. And
well, it's like with the old before all these fucking phones and shit. You called, you picked up, you dialed the fucking phone. We're gonna hang out here. Okay, you good? Yeah, fine. And you fucking hang up and you go did the thing.
Yeah, and the thing about that also is that the convenience of the internet. For example, trying to get, in my circumstances, in my personal life experience, not saying it applies to everybody else, but trying to get 5 guys together to play a game in one physical location is a Herculean task. Getting 5 guys to play a game online, like Tabletop Simulator, all the guys, especially the guys who got kids or married or whatever, they can do it from their house. They don't have to go anywhere. If they have to step away for a second to deal with something that's going on in the house, they can do that. It's not a big deal. And so
that's why you and I are going to break that chain there.
That's why back in the old days we would just shame the shit out of our friends until they showed up.
Pretty much. Call them pussies.
Call them pussies and faggots and mama's boys until they showed up.
So what do we say about Rollo bailing on us?
he had something he had to take care of. Yeah.
We have to.
God
Hey,
damn it, Rollo. Well, we can say this. And every time we had to reschedule a game, it is because of Rollo. I mean, that's just that's a fact. That's not,
right. I'm just saying we give Cappy, we give him.
We
a
give
lot of
Aaron grief. We have to give Rollo grief. That son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping we can find that gnome, and I'm gonna set him on fire.
You should absolutely set him on fire, and then Grat will eat. Well, Grat will have an
radiant flame down on that little. Actually, if
fucking
we're
turd.
able to level up, because we should be leveling up. If I get
we should soon. I mean, we've gone through what, 2 campaigns already, or two adventures.
I think we should level up. He should give us a level, and then I will specifically pick out an offensive spell, something really painful for murdering that gnome.
Can't you just level up whenever you want?
No, you have to. There are milestones. There's experience points. What are called experience points that you have to accrue.
Okay.
Now, back in the day, and this has always been has always stuck in my craw with the newer editions of Dungeons and Dragons. They went the egalitarian equalism route. No matter what you play, the experience level, the tiers are all the same. Yeah. Back with first edition Dungeons and Dragons, depending upon what you played, like the fighter and the thief, the magic user, and the monk, they all had different level tiers that you had to reach. Like, it wasn't like you got so many points to get to level 2, but maybe the magic user needed more to get to level 2, so they needed more experience. They needed to do more things.
That's generally what happens when you don't gatekeep properly and keep the retards out.
Well, absolutely, but that it was merit based.
D&D is a mess now.
It's a complete shit show. Yeah.
Although woke
gatekeep better. Y'all should have had me at the door. I'd have cut their ass.
Somebody at the door. Yeah. Shit.
Like y'all are not playing. Because isn't that what happened? I think I heard something about this. They like a bunch of dorks got in there. They didn't know how to play the game, and so they wanted to start changing everything up. Like the rules and everything.
I don't know if it's that they didn't know or that
they were bad. Like they weren't good.
They wanted to, and my assumption is that they wanted to simplify it to increase the potential market. That's my guess. Instead of trying to make the best game possible for the people that like these kind of games, they said, how can we sell it to more people?
Yeah, so they pandered to the lowest common denominator.
Pretty much. And that's how we got all these fucking SJW woke types in it.
Yeah, this is what always amazes me is when people go into an organization, a group of whatever, that you can break it down as much as you want on the micro level, but let's talk about like clubs, hobbies, interests, whatever. And unless the group is struggling, right? Unless it's like saying, okay, we're not where we want to be. Other than that, they come in and they immediately want to start making changes of a model that works. But they want to make it for people who don't, mainly because they want to make it work for people who aren't interested. It's like, well, they should be interested, but they're not. And you got to, change what you are to accommodate them at the expense of people who are actually, dedicated to whatever it is. And I just find that mindset so weird because if I don't like something, I'm not going to want to get involved with it. And I'm certainly not going to spend or waste my life and eventually, of course, they destroy it because they're idiots. Or I don't even say they're idiots. Like they're too successful and effective at what they do because they do this with everything. Like they seem incompetent. This is kind of the sadistic thing about it is like they seem incompetent and idiotic and stupid, but they are masterful at basically just destroying things and then moving on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, they're a bunch of dorks.
Mictibus, you're in regard to the different. It's hard to explain. You almost had to have lived it and gone through the different rules iterations.
They're
the Dungeons and Dragons of What was that, Drew?
They're fucking with the rules and the lore, and these people. Okay, so he brings up a good point. Dungeons and Dragons and a lot of role-playing games in general are really just a rule set that you can use for fantasy or sci-fi role play. And the rule set, you can we can do it literally. You can do whatever you want with it. It's a suggestion. The dungeon master, the game master, whoever can change rules. You can house rule things. The whole point is for you to have a structure to guide, as you are playing out scenarios, how to determine the results of attempting certain type of actions. But the problem with all these woke SJW types getting involved is that they are attempting to infest it. They are attempting to insinuate their own beliefs into it in a way that affects the lore and the, like character classes and race.
Well, they're bringing in identity politics and this.
They're trying to push it on every aspect of it, and they're trying to force it on everybody else who is playing.
Yeah.
And I think they know, and I think some of them actually get off on the idea that it is bothering people that they don't like. I think some of them like to just destroy things for the sake of knowing that it upsets people who care about it, who might not share their same deranged ideology. I think it's intentionally malicious to, like vandalizing a work of art because you don't give a shit about it, but because somebody else likes it and you want to hurt that person.
Well, also too, it's because they're creatively bankrupt as well.
Yeah,
They are.
They can't make anything up on their own.
No, all they can do is distort, mutilate, and destroy.
Yeah.
They're locusts, cultural locusts.
Man, they're more like cancer, though.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, this is why it's so important when getting involved. I've written articles about this on masculinegeek.com, but when you are going to join a club, association, whatever it is, hobby, passion, interest, the first thing you should do before you join is meet the leader. Show me to your leader. Don't talk to the recruiter. Don't talk to whoever's like trying to get you involved. Say, I want to talk to the guy who's in charge because he represents the epitome or the most ideal values of the group. And if he is a wishy-washy, weak guy who you don't think or trust to hold the line and, kick a guy to the curb the moment he's in trouble, then, my thought is you should really question whether you should join that group. And the reason why is because let's say you're part of a group that's got something going on. It's a bunch of guys. You're having fun.
Or just do a hostile takeover.
Right, well,
because if he's a weak leader.
Yeah, but the problem is if he's a weak leader, he seems weak, but the moment you challenge his authority, he'll come down, and he also has the entire group on his side. And that's the problem, is that deep down they're weak in resisting all the stuff we hate. They're very strong when it comes to resisting positive changes, as I've learned personally. And so they're the ones, like, you'll have a great thing going on, and then a girl will come in and be like, oh, I want to join. And most guys know that when a girl...
Yeah, I was going to say, if you do that, you're going to need a set of fucking D cups or something.
Yeah, you're basically going to have to, like, decide, like, do I stay or do I go? And obviously, where things are going to go eventually the moment, the first female enters a male space. And so you don't want to have invested a lot of time, energy, and effort into this space or into this group, only to see it basically given up to someone who Janie come lately, who gets the leader is willing to cater to because he's a white knight. And I say this stuff like I've seen it so many times. It's like it's almost like so predictable. It's depressing because, and it's not just the girls. It's like where somebody comes in and it's like, oh, we need to make all these changes. We need to do all this stuff, and you know where it's going to go. They're basically going to destroy the group, or whatever the dynamic that's going on.
Well, you turn into false Me Too against her. Just don't even mess around.
Well, I'm not even thinking about necessarily like females. I'm thinking more of like people who want to just they come in and they're just there to destroy. They're there to just cause trouble because they're especially if they're I use the word gamma as a placeholder, but they're guys who are resentful of the natural hierarchy of men. They're at the bottom, but they think that they should be at the top. Well, they're going to come in and they're going to cause problems. But if you already see a guy like that in charge of a group, understand that most of the guys in that group see that as the ideal. So that's the big question: is you look at the leader in charge and say, is he somebody I want to be more like or less, or not at all? And if the answer is anything other than I want to be more like him, then you probably should question joining the organization, because you're going to have to conform to those values to be not only accepted as part of the group, but if you want to get more involved or have some sort of higher position in the group, if you're kind of ambitious in that, if you're really passionate about whatever it is that you guys are doing, you're going to have to be more like him. And if you don't like him, you're going to have to be more like somebody you don't want to be.
Yeah. I think I'm a big fan of just infiltrating and then turning his people against them. Like,
well, that was an old Marxist trick which still survives to this day. Mictobus, that's exactly what I do. I have not purchased anything from Wizards in a very long time. So
they haven't
Red
anything worth purchasing in a very long time.
Red, thank you for the $2 super chat. Appreciate that. Always a pleasure.
Very nice.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. It is exactly the 1 hour mark.
Oh.
Did you want to share something there, Boris,
Yeah,
before we sign off?
I was gonna. I got some really good scores on eBay. I don't know how, but every once in a while you get some good stuff. So a couple of these are pre-1900s. They're like late 1800s razor blades. This one is this Dewey Razor Company out of Germany.
I like the light off of the blade.
Yeah, this I think this is late 1890s.
Holy shit!
This one though is this is the one that kind of surprised me because I had to do some research on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have to look at this. It's got a very short tail on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so I was looking at the thing and it said J. Dobie. That's a cutlery company that was established in 1847 and went out of business in 1913.
Holy shit!
And it was
cool.
It was in Glasgow. So that is actually a Welsh or Scottish straight razor. And
Wow.
I have not seen many of those ever around anywhere. So that's going to my collection.
That's cool.
Yeah. But yeah.
Now you got these off of eBay, you said, correct?
Yeah, I got those two off of eBay. I got this little frame back.
Was there any description as far as its lineage is concerned? Like who had it, like where it came from?
No, they didn't know. They didn't know what they had.
Hmm.
They didn't know what they had. I really didn't know until I started looking it up myself. On that particular blade though. So, and then yeah, because it was a twofer. What it was an auction for two blades for that one, and this Morley and Son is a pretty common blade. Like it was made back in the late 1800s. It looks like shit right now, but I'm gonna clean it up, and it's gonna look good. And
cool.
This little barber's notch. I like those blades because they're really good for beginners. Because they're a small blade, and it's got that little barber's notch, so it doesn't cut them on the corner and stuff that much. And sometimes I'll even I'll get a blade, and if it's a square point, I'll put it on the grinder and grind that tip down, that spike point.
Cool.
I don't want y'all hurting yourselves.
I appreciate that.
But yeah, and last one I got, it's Big Baby.
That's a small one.
Yeah, it's tiny. It's a Sheffield. I have no idea how old this thing is. But it is it's old. I just don't know how old it is. I can't find anything on it. I don't know. I got a buddy that wants it though, because he's crazy. He wants a travel razor. And I said, oh, okay.
Yeah, nice.
So
cool. You gonna work on those and then throw them up on your shop?
Some of them are going up on the shop. Some of them are going inside my personal collection. And I might take a couple out of my personal collection and put up for sale because I have to. I mean, because it's starting to get real bad again, guys.
you got a problem. We got to rotate. It's like
because I try to limit myself to 7 to 8 straight razors inside my rotation.
So if you buy a new one, you have to get rid of an old one.
I have to, or it's going to get really bad. It's going to get really bad. I'm not like a pack rat kind of person, but with straight razors and shit like that, I am.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Cool.
I know I have a problem. I can admit to it.
Well, that's the first step towards recovery, sir.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, at least yours doesn't involve drinking all the rum.
Yeah, that's it. Aaron is just out of control always.
That's just Aaron being Aaron. And
pretty much.
I just got to put it up on a higher shelf when he comes over then.
Yeah, basically.
This, you know what, an Essie knife?
Yeah.
I just got this yesterday. I love this fucking knife.
Nice.
It is awesome.
It looks awesomely sharp.
Well, it actually the factory edge that came on it was pretty much crap. I had to put it on. I had to put it on my stones and sharpen it up or hone it up and stuff. But it was really weird because the SD knives are made out of 1095 steel, and 1095 is a pretty good. It's pretty decent steel. It's just like a workhorse kind of steel. But and the thing is, it kind of takes an edge real fast. But with this thing, I had to do about 11 to 13. I had to do 11 to 13 laps on one of my diamond plates to get a burr on it. That's fucking insane. Like really? normally the type of steel I have to do that with is like your high grade steel, your high speed steel and stuff, like your S35 VN and stuff like that. But this stuff here, it was kind of a bitch to get a burr on it and get the edge broke on it first. And so yeah, I really like it. So it feels good, man. Y'all should get one, and they're cheap too. That's what I was telling McTubas in DMs yesterday, was that they were for the price point, they are excellent. Because I think I paid like $105 for this thing. And
where'd you get it?
Oh, have McTubas put the thing in a. He's the one that gave me the link to the.
McTubas is now the new Atham.
He's in the
Mictobus, look it up.
McTubas, look that up.
Yeah, they got a lifetime warranty on it too. Like if you do anything to that knife, like just send it back to them, they'll fix it or replace it. Yeah, knifeworks.com.
All right,
they have the best prices on Essies I've seen. But
cool.
But yeah, for like $105 and free shipping, I would.
What's the size of that blade? Was it 3 inches?
It's 3.8. It's almost 4 inches, and it's perfect though. It's perfect. Cool. It's the perfect size for like a utility everyday carry knife. It's got a flat grind on both sides, so it's stupid easy to sharpen. It don't have like a Scandi grind or anything, or like a recurve in it or anything. It's just a normal drop point blade with a flat grind. It's made to be used and abused, you know.
Nice.
And yeah, y'all should get one, man. Because I was telling McTubas I would pay $150 for that knife, at least. Because like that's $150 knife. Too. Oh, here we go.
What the fuck is this?
Just picked up the. Actually, on this side, same thing. Let's see the 4.
That's the 4.
Yeah, I was tempted to get the 5 or 6, but I need something that I can just throw in a belt and take around with me, and not. The 6 is a little bit.
You don't want to be obnoxious.
Yeah, although I don't like it. This sheath, I'm going to probably have to. I need to get all the gear so I can make my own out of Kydex. No, this is too high on the belt.
You need to go to armatus.com.
Message it to me later because I'll forget it. But
McTubas put it inside the thing. White Atham.
Atham.
But I like that it's got. I don't know if you can see this, but it's got little grooves right behind.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Here so for whittling, for fine knife work, because this is mostly going to be just going out in the woods and stuff. But I have not done the paper test yet, so I don't know how the edge is here. But
The edge is not that great.
I've got
It's service
like 1,200, 3,000, 6,000, like 8,000 stones. So
What kind of stones? Are they Japanese or?
Japanese water stones.
All right, so they're like man-made stones. There it is, armatuscarry.com. I ordered I went on their site the other night and ordered a sheath for my what is it? My steep country. That's made out of Benchmade steep country, because the original sheath that they give you with that knife it's just horrible. It's like something you'd find at a garage sale. It pisses me off because I can't believe like Benchmade would like make a good knife like that and then put it inside of a crappy leather sheath. It looks like your mom or something made it for like crafts or something. It's really embarrassing.
That's weird.
Yeah. So I'm still mad about it. And I've had that knife for like 3 years.
Goddamn piece of shit.
Well, I mean, it's Benchmade, man. Like you pay like $200, $300 for a knife like that. You expect to have a damn decent sheath with it, preferably like Kydex or really, really nice leather.
What the hell are you doing, Drew?
But nah.
I don't know where the fuck
Oh,
they
what are you
are.
doing?
A bunch of Japanese water stones.
He's geared up, man.
Huh?
I said, you're geared up, man. You got your duty belt on, shit ready to go.
We got the pistol, I got spare mags, and the multi-tool.
Nice.
And when I wake up in the morning, the gun and the belt goes on. When I'm on the toilet, the gun is next to me. When I'm in the shower, it's like right out on the towel.
You got a shower gun?
Yeah, why don't you get a shower gun?
Huh?
Get
You got a shower gun?
It's
Well, it's like-
always within arm's reach. The only time I ever do not have a gun
It's like a
is
shower
if
beer.
I am going on a plane.
Hmm.
And that's pretty much it. And if I'm on a plane, I might not have anything that would be traditionally considered, that anything that TSA would raise an eyebrow at, but I sure as hell have something that I can use as a bludgeon or to strangle. So I don't go anywhere without a weapon.
Weapons of opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we were having a conversation about that on Twitter the other night about going in the gun-free zones. I ignore that shit. Like I ignore the signs. I go.
Yeah,
anyway.
if there's a shooting and you shoot someone as a result, okay, the worst they're gonna do is prosecute you. You don't have a gun. They're shooting. They shoot you. You're dead.
The way I look at it is better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Okay, consider the consequences. What if you go in there? They're not going to even know you have a firearm.
Exactly.
Unless you have to use it.
No.
If you have to use it, then it's because your life is in danger.
Man, I've walked by cops like that. I've gone into gun-free zones and walked right by cops, and they don't notice shit. They're just there to make money, to do overtime.
Yeah,
They don't care.
Most of them don't give a
Ask
shit.
me how I know. They don't care. They're just there for extra money. And the only time I won't go into a place with a gun is if they have metal detectors and doing pat downs.
Yeah, pretty much.
But see, then though, they have armed security there. So
Exactly.
they usually have multiple people there with guns. So it's not that big a deal. But it's like if I have to go to a theater, or I take my daughter to go see like Aladdin or something like that, and it's a gun-free zone, and they don't have anyone there that's like armed security or anything. It's like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah, I always have a firearm in theaters. I'm not going to a fucking theater.
Especially a theater, because that's like the worst place to go be without a gun, because it's like you only have a couple different exits, and you got one main entrance area, and it's just tactically it's a horrible place to be in.
Yeah,
you've got multiple fatal funnels if somebody wants to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But even here's the thing, though. Places that have metal detectors. Think about this. if you have a metal detector in a business where there is a lot of traffic, a lot of people coming and going, a courthouse, some amusement parks, like Universal in Orlando, everybody's got to go through all these metal detectors, which means you have a large number of people gathered in an area coming and going from the parking areas to the places where the metal detectors are. And presumably there's a bunch of armed guards or security where the metal detectors are, but you have all these unarmed people traveling from the parking place to that place without anything on them.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to do a whole lot of damage, you would just fire on them as they were coming or going near the close when most of the people are going to be leaving. You're going to have the largest crowd all coming out at the same time.
Yeah, that's why I don't like carports.
Yeah, parking garage
Carport.
stuff like that.
I try to stay away from that.
Yeah, it's nuts. I don't like going anywhere if I can't carry. In fact, I've got a list of states. I'm planning on starting. I used to do these weekend workshop and seminars for personal trainers. It would be like a 2-day thing, 8 hours per day with a break in between for lunch. And most of this was geared towards for trainers, not for just people wanting to work out, but people wanted to teach the stuff. And I'm planning on starting those again this summer, but I'm only going to do a couple a year. And I mentioned this on a newsletter because I've got a lot of people with training studios and people who have expressed an interest in having me come out to the studio to teach their trainers or hosting an event at their gym. And I told people I'm not going to New York, I'm not going to New Jersey, I'm not going to Washington, I'm not going to Oregon, I'm not going to Minnesota, I'm not going to Illinois. Anywhere that I can't carry, I'm not going to do business.
Yeah, that's why I don't go to New Jersey to see fucking Yahoo there.
It's just it's
I'd visit you, Vince. I just don't go to fucking commie states. Not personal.
What's interesting about
You can be
our
forgiven.
state- what's interesting about our state is we used to have in Texas, you still have to go through training to get a concealed carry permit, whereas here it's
Not really.
Oh, not really. Okay. In Washington, it's at will. Basically, you go apply for one and you get it. You don't have to go through any training. They've been trying to overturn that. It's been unsuccessful, even though you have a Democrat governor, Democrat House, Democrat Senate.
Every state should be constitutional carry.
Yeah, nobody should have to ask permission from government.
You don't have to.
Right.
Firearms.
I'm just noting how it's interesting. Like our state's also open carry is legal, whereas in other states, open carry is not under certain circumstances is not legal. I can basically take. I'm not going to say what I have, but it's I lost it last week in a boating accident.
It's a fucking 380.
Yeah.
380.
But if I was to walk across the road with that on me, I might. Yes, I will get a huge bunch of cops showing up with their hand on their holster. But what I'm doing is perfectly legal under Washington state law, and so
Then why are they even stopping anyway?
I'll say what?
Why are they even stopping in the first place?
Well, because they're getting calls that there's a guy with a gun on the road, and they're going to respond. And naturally, look, here's the reality: law enforcement, anytime they see somebody with a gun, other than them, in this area, they're going to freak. And also, my part of the state is ground zero training for Washington State Patrol recruits. They're like the most zealous in enforcing anything, but also just like they're hypersensitive to that stuff. So I guess what I was trying to get at the point was like, a lot of states have kind of like historic or heritage laws on the books. Now they've undermined a lot of our gun rights in the past couple of years with a bunch of initiatives and these laws that they've passed. But what's been interesting is there's been a bunch of Democrats who are actually like got not A+, but they've got solid ratings from the NRA and a bunch of other gun organizations. So they've kind of kept that stuff at bay. I just wonder for how much longer.
That shit doesn't impress me. NRA does not impress me. Any marks?
Yeah. I'm probably the most cynical of the group on that kind of stuff.
The NRA is. This is how bad the NRA is. I actually had a lifetime membership, which is not cheap with the NRA.
No, it's not, man. Ooh.
And I called them and I told them that fuck you guys, I cancel it. I don't want to hear from you again. Don't send me your shit. Stop calling me. I am never going to give you another fucking dime because they were completely worthless. The NRA does absolutely nothing for gun.
All the gun control, federal gun control laws that they have now, the NRA helped design them.
Right. But the other thing is that they do is that the NRA opposes legislation that I work with. I'm a volunteer with the 10th Amendment Center, and they push for state nullification of federal gun laws. So at the state level, but at the local level as well. And some of the biggest pushback they get is from law enforcement and other gun advocacy groups because they're based either out of DC or they're law enforcement and they've got some sort of grant with the federal government that requires them to enforce federal gun control laws. And if they don't enforce it, they don't get the grant and they don't get the money. And so that's been the interesting part of dealing with the underbelly of politics is when you actually try and go solve a problem, you realize how many advocacy groups are actually the most opposed to you in solving the problem because they don't want the problem to like get out of control, but they don't want the problem to get solved because then they don't have
they lose it. Yeah, that's the way they work though. It's like they
the money spigot gets turned off.
Exactly.
They either survive long enough, they're short-lived enough to be advocacy groups, or they live long enough to become rackets.
Yeah, oh, dude, that was brilliant. That was did you just come up with that?
That is, yeah.
No, dude, that's brilliant. That needs to be like put into like a plaque or something.
Yeah.
Like you look at NAACP, you look at all these other freedom, civil rights organizations. They've all
Southern Poverty Law Center.
So yeah,
that's a perfect example.
They're fucking horrible.
They don't care about law or poverty or anything, dude. They just care about lining their coffers.
Yeah,
that's the way the NRA is.
And the NRA is fucking worthless. Gun Owners of America, Firearms Policy Coalition. There are some good ones, but the NRA is fucking worthless. And not just, I'm disgusted with how worthless they are. If we should not have any restrictions. Seriously, any restrictions on firearms ownership by anyone. If you are so dangerous, legitimately, not because somebody disagrees with your politics, but if a person is so off mentally that they can't be trusted to have a firearm, they probably shouldn't be out anyways. And if even a violent felon, if somebody goes to prison for a violent felony and they're let out, they can't own a firearm afterwards. They should have once they've done their time, their rights should be restored. If they are so dangerous they can't be trusted with a gun, they shouldn't have been let out then. Yeah. I mean, we could go on and on all the stuff, but here's the thing. I should be able to buy and carry whatever I want. I should be able to mount a fucking Gatling gun on the wagon and pull it around with me like a stroller if I want to. There's already laws against murder. There's already laws against assault. I
just got a mental image of your big ass pulling a Ma Deuce on a fucking red packet.
That will be my project for the apocalypse. I'm gonna get like a little push wagon.
God,
that I can put.
I think what's kind of sad, and if for a geek moment, it would be interesting to see like a Sears catalog that has them. But back in the day, you used to be able to order guns through the Sears. You could order a house through Sears catalog, and so to see that now you have to go through all this stuff that like it's a right. This is a right that we have. Yeah. It is our right to own firearms. We should not have to go through all this other stuff. I don't think we should have to go. We can have discussions about how to deal with these issues.
Here's your problem with your premise. We only have rights that we're prepared to violently defend if necessary.
Right. Absolutely.
So
Well, we need
Either
to
bitch
start
about it
back.
or do something about it.
No, I think that that's absolutely correct, and that's one of the problems. Is like rights are not maintained by just protesting. There was no, we could go down that road. I think it's just what's sad is like there's no line in the sand aside from outright gun confiscation, and that's what's so funny about a lot of these people who are anti-gun, where they're like, oh, we're going to take your guns, we're going to confiscate guns, you should be able to go, cops should be able to just go into people's houses. Like they're playing into the hands. Actually, it's beneficial because it creates a line in the sand that I know people will.
They're not anti-gun. They're not anti-gun.
No.
They're anti you having a gun.
They're anti-civil,
They want-
anti-civic gun ownership.
They want a small group of people to have the guns.
It's going to be bad if they ever start trying that. I mean, that will kick off the war.
Like any communist creep that's taken place in this country over the last 40, 50 years, as TJ will attest to this. It's not gonna happen by we're coming to your house and we're gonna grab your. That's not how this works anymore.
They're going to start
It's
restricting
more-
other things that you can do.
Well,
until
what they'll say is, all right, well, if you want to have a gun, you're going to pay this tax.
Yep.
If you do this or you want to buy that, you can't have this. That's how they'll have it so wrapped up and frustrating you with red tape and government regulations that they want you to give up. That's the whole thing. They will legislate you into a
they'll do it in
corner
such a passive
to
way
where
that
you
you
are just
actually
like, well,
confront
fuck it,
them.
I don't care.
Yeah, because if a whole army comes to like some guy's house in my community to take his guns, he'd have half the valley. They'd have to have the valley showing up with firearms.
Exactly.
Like, basically ready for war.
It's going to happen.
Well,
it's gonna
here's
happen
what to do. I'm going to put this out there.
All right, you've got 2 minutes. we're
None of
cutting
us
those.
are John McClane or John Matrix, John Rambo, John Wick, John whoever. We're not going to be able to.
Funny how it's a lot of Johns.
Yeah, it is
John.
always John.
It's like
John
it's like
Dark.
I'm John Candy.
John Wade.
It's like a brothel, right? John
Smith.
None of us. are
John Big Booty.
to end with. I mean, if somebody resists, if federal or local law enforcement come to your house and they want to take your weapons, and you decide, okay, well, I'm just going to kill a bunch of you, they're going to get you. It's just a matter of if you die with a positive kill-death ratio or not. But you don't do that. You make sure you hide stuff as best as you can. You make sure you know who the law enforcement officers are. And then after they've taken them, hopefully you still have some somewhere else, you go to their homes and you burn them down with their families inside. Every single fucking one of them.
That escalated quickly.
And then you
It
do
did,
that
didn't it?
every single oath breaker out there who attempts to do this to an American citizen, and they will very quickly start thinking about doing it again. So
There you go, everyone. This is straight from Uncle Drew and his pyromania.
I think Tannerite is the name of the game, though.
if they start doing this, it is war, and you have to hurt them so fucking badly that it makes an example for all of the rest.
Well, yeah. You got to put bodies on pikes. Bodies on pikes.
Literally.
It's
And
Tannerite and
something to keep
Armalite.
in mind.
Jesus, I get what you're saying, but it's not going to go down that way. That's as much as that would be fun. It's just not going to go down that way.
They'll never allow a confrontation. Like based on what I've seen, they never allow a direct confrontation. They always change. They do stuff in such a passive way. Like for example, they're not going to come confiscate your wealth at home. They'll just seize it from your bank account.
This fucker shows up
at the last
when we're getting ready to exit the broadcast.
Exit left.
We need to anticipate the things that they're going to attempt and identify the people responsible, and those are the ones that get targeted. Then if it's a mayor, string them up, start going after these people and getting rid of them. That's what it's going to come to eventually.
You string them up and tickle the bottom of their feet with a feather?
No, I'm talking the tie around.
Tar and
French
feathering,
tickler.
my friend.
This is what it's going to have to come to eventually.
And Nick, it looks like Nick got a haircut or some shit.
He looks like a Marine.
No, his head shrunk.
Yeah, it's.
I gotta not drink when you guys make it funny.
You know what? Well, what happened is, can you hear me okay?
You need to go back to that hotel with the good Wi-Fi because your shit sucks.
Yeah, you're back on AOL status.
Fucking AOL. Do you have that? You pop in the disc every time you fire up the.
That's what we're thinking.
See, we can't fucking hear what you're saying, you son of a bitch.
Nothing at all?
Now we can.
Now we can. You sound good now.
The reason for the haircut is there's so many pussies in the military now that I went and enlisted and they took me at my age.
Jesus Christ.
Did you identify as trans so that you would get the officer rank
I
right
was
away?
just about to ask.
That's
I identified as Bullrush.
In the new war.
I identify as a Gauss 300 Gatling gun.
as well you should. That's too funny. So we'll hang out for a little bit more. Who let the old guy in here? You're already under fire.
He just wandered in here. Kind of like
just wandered in here.
Under fire.
Kind of like Biden. He just like fucking wandered in.
I
Here.
get going, and I'm probably already on all the lists now. So
It probably, yeah.
You think so?
if I wasn't already.
I'll start another thread and get the D&D scheduling going for next time. So be talking with you.
Take it
Later.
easy,
Later.
I think I'm on this now.
You what?
He's like, I think I'm gonna be on some lists now. I'm like, oh yeah.
He's already been on lists, I'm sure, a long time ago. This is nothing new. So how's everything with you, Nick? Good?
It's good, man. What did I do? Show up at the end of the show?
You
Yes.
pretty much did, yeah.
Join in at the last minute and take credit for the victory.
Yep. That's the way you do it.
Vince has cut the Wednesday show in half. I guess because he's getting old or some shit.
No, we weren't playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I didn't really have a topic to discuss. Not that we ever really do. It's just kind of like shooting the shit. And I've got
Speaking of shooting,
and I've got
Allegedly.
a long ass work day tomorrow, so I figured I would turn in early, but apparently not because you fucking dickheads show up late and Jesus Christ.
Well, first of all, you could have, if you'd have texted me, I would have been Johnny on the spot, but you
Another
Twittered
John.
me.
I did Twitter, yeah.
You Twittered me, and I'm trying to stay off Twitter as much as possible. So
No, I'm the same way. I removed it off my phone. The only reason why I use Twitter is because I had it up here to send out the StreamYard link to everybody. So you were included.
awesome.
Next time,
Send them flowers and
hey, Nick,
the little box with the fruits and shit in it.
the
Hey, you don't
nuts-
have to keep this disaster going just because I'm here. Fuck you.
That's right. So on that note, everyone, where can everyone find you? TJ, where can people go to
TJ
get your
Martinell.
show?
TJ Martinell, MartinEll.com.
There you go. Nick, where you at?
I'm not even saying. I don't care.
He doesn't care. So Nick doesn't care. Fuck that guy. Bull Rush, where can everyone find your razors?
They'll be around. Probably at your mom's house. I don't know.
That's not a good place.
Probably not. We'll see.
Definitely not. She's
I've been
dead.
using my Lazarus razor to slice prime rib. So
There you go.
yeah.
I told you it was only meant for Wagyu, fucker. Wagyu.
Why'd you?
I don't know about all that gay shit. I just,
Fucking unwashed masses on this damn show.
Christ. Looking forward to the next Punch Riot.
You got my submission, right, Nick?
I did. I appreciate it. I've just been remiss in getting back to people this month. So I'm behind on, because I started doing real work again, I'm behind on everything. So
all right.
TJ, don't as a man, don't ever use the word submission again.
Especially to Nick.
Yeah.
Well, what you guys
We'll
don't
take that as an
realize I
invitation.
do- What you
Okay,
guys
what-
don't realize I do is I take all your contributions and then I put another pseudonym, one of my pseudonyms on them, and then I send them off to other magazines. So
After is that before or after you jerk off over them?
Yes.
Hey, both. Okay, there you go.
I don't jerk off. I have my intern do it.
Oh, okay, your intern jerks you off.
She jerks me off. Yeah.
What's his name?
I was waiting for it.
His name is Fuck You. That's his name.
He's from Bangkok.
There you go. Oh shit,
Oriental City. All
that's
right.
too funny. All right, gentlemen, we're gonna call it a night because Nick is old. He's got to get back to bed. So yeah. So
Yeah.
all right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the week and weekend. And TJ, take us out.
Well, gentlemen, keep the fires burning, keep the lead shooting down range, and don't take anyone nickels.